So eights racing, always the most explosive off the start here at Henley. So we'll try to give you just the audio of the first 10 strokes. Love that sound of the express train moving from stationary to full speed, and really 10 to 15 strokes and you're up to full speed here. That's one of the most exciting facets of eights racing here at Henley. So the holders, Brookes against Syracuse, who turned over Brookes B yesterday to get here. So they've had a dress rehearsal for this. And away we go.
Spin, surge, sound. It's like a symphony of movement, isn't it, on the Henley course? It really is. Brookes here challenging for yet another Henley Royal Regatta title. But the boys from Syracuse, they're over from the United States of America. Almost surprise finalists looking at the draw, but they're getting quicker as the regatta goes on.
I think the only way to play this for Syracuse is to go off like an orange rocket, and I think that's what they've done. They've really had a good flyer on this one, but you can't rely on Brookes to do anything other than battle hard from the very first stroke, and that's what they're doing. So here we are, 200 metres into the course, both crews moving at maximum speed. Syracuse in orange, Brookes in burgundy. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, nothing to choose between those two crews. Well apart on the course, staying true to their lanes. Syracuse have had a good regatta. They dispatched near us on Friday. They beat Brookes B yesterday in the semi-finals. So their brothers on the far side of the shot will be desperate to find a way to redeem themselves. And at the moment, it looks like Brookes A just mounting a bit of a charge.
Yeah, Brookes are moving every stroke at the moment, aren't they? Just moving, as you rightly called it, Tom, moving a few centimetres per stroke through. So they've got the faster boat speed. And Syracuse are still striking pretty high right now. So they're still in the start phase. It's expensive for Syracuse, but more expensive if they let go of the Brookes crew too early, and we've seen everybody having to hang on to this very fast fleet of Brookes boats this afternoon. So Syracuse closest to the picture in the orange with that bucket rig in the middle, 2 oars next to each other in the centre of the boat, transmitting the rhythm through. And in the Brookes crews, on board with Brookes, we've got 3 Dutchmen providing a little bit of silk and smoothness and length in the middle of that Brookes crew. You love the way they row.
This is archetypal Brookes. They're just relentless and representative of this real racing rigour that they have installed through Henry Balehash, Webb, Richard Spratley, the fantastic coaching team they have there. And the hyperbole almost runs dry at this point, Matt. I'm running out of things to say to compliment these Brookes crews, because the way that they race, they go out fast, they stay with their opposition, they lull them into this false sense of security, and then they just find another gear.
I mean, I think it speaks to the way you build a system in sport, and we see that in multiple different sports. You know, you think about Manchester United's architecture of success over many years, some of the great clubs like this, and I think built into Brookes is an ability to have a broad base of athletes and then fashion them through almost being hammered by all of that competitive side-by-side racing they do, like sheet metal being beaten into shape, and then they come to Henley and they demonstrate how those blows have been absorbed and can be redeployed against the opposition. So Syracuse actually still hanging on there, but I think it's a bit deceptive from this angle as we sweep towards the halfway mark, which is just after the falling marker here where our camera sits. We can see both crews have now settled down into their rhythm. I think Syracuse need to be a bit more aggressive. Perhaps they're just holding to compose themselves, ready to attack through the second half of the course. You'll often use a course marker like this as a point to make a call and make a move.
100%, yeah, I agree with you. I think Syracuse are in danger here of letting this race run away from them. They need to mark their own narrative and find a way to get the pen into their hand, because at the moment, Brookes just looking to break clear, and in an 8, a length is a really, really long way.
So many stories will be written today that will be retold down the years by spectators in their blazers, but for now it's the moment for these men in both boats. Syracuse staying quite wide out, I think. I mean, I noticed earlier, Tom, that Syracuse were sticking quite close to the booms, and with a crosswind coming from this side, from the side that Syracuse are sitting on, maybe that's something that they might think about. But Brookes dominant, and as we reach the third quarter of the course, I'd expect to see Brookes now really thinking about opening up a gap. Can they just close the door completely on Syracuse? Syracuse have to hang on, and right now Syracuse are moving, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you actually, Matt. I watched Brookes in the Temple Challenge Cup final last year against Washington, and they sat with them for the opening 500, then just jettisoned the afterburners and moved away. Haven't managed to affect that on Syracuse so far, who haven't really left them too much sort of gap to move on. Remenham there in the background. Syracuse still in contention here.
Yeah, so we've got 600 metres to go, something like that. Syracuse have hung on. I think they kept that overlap. The canvas, the little yellow kind of triangle of the boat at the front and the back was overlapping there. So Syracuse may have gained some confidence from that. Brookes may be asking themselves a question or two, but I suspect we're going to see a mighty finish from the Brookes crew. Let's see if Syracuse have got an answer to that. Let's ride with the Syracuse crew and see them fighting every single stroke. Those legs pounding down, lifting the boat through the water, pushing it on.
Your point earlier, Matt, is spot on. Syracuse just don't look as aggressive as Brookes, and I feel like they've either got another gear or they're withholding something, but they need to make sure they're still in with a chance as they come into the enclosures, because they can have all the gas left in the world, but if Brookes have run away with it, then there's no point emptying the tank.
Absolutely. So it is time for all the furniture to go out of the pram and down the river with Syracuse from the US of A in the orange. Everything to do now, and Brookes looking dominant, and they have done over the last couple of races as well. That rhythm, that length, that fluidity from Brookes. Stand clear, Swans. Here comes another Brookes 8 as we run through the enclosures. Only about 300 metres to go now. The crowd rising to appreciate the incredible athleticism of these people all the way through the week. We've been impressed by the 8s racing, and here's another cracker on our hands. Brookes dominating the final stage of the race.
Well, the Brookes Armada are just sweeping the Henley waters. They are showing no mercy to their opposition, and their ability to cultivate talent is second to none here in the UK. We thought Syracuse, Harvard, Washington would come over and they would show Brookes what it's all about there on the transatlantic side, and they have not managed to stand up to Brookes, who come into the enclosures, can reap the appreciation of the crowd, and the Brookes Blaze is smattered amongst so many people here on Henley Finals Day.
So from experience, this is about the moment when you can actually start to believe, if you're in the leading crew, that the victory is yours. You can never be confident until the final stages. Syracuse have a final attack in them as they pass the progress board, but it is going to be Oxford Brookes. Tom Bryce calling his men across the line in the Cox's seat there. So Brookes taking the Temple Challenge Cup over Syracuse University. They just didn't have what it took to stay with Brookes and get back at them through the race. So Brookes, again, victory celebrations, a multiple victory celebration for Brookes this afternoon.
Astonishing. What a morning, what a beginning to the afternoon for Brookes. When I looked at the timetable yesterday, I realised I had 4 of their 5 finals. I wasn't expecting it to be 4 out of 5 wins. It's been an incredible start to finals day for this Brookes crew, and lots more to come for them.
Yeah, so they really took it out from the start. There was a moment where Syracuse looked like they were going to hang on very early in the race, but then Brookes took it away from them. Syracuse dug their nails in through the middle of the course, but they just didn't have enough. And again, Brookes dominating, and that means a lot to these crews. I mean, it's tough if your colleagues are all winning and then you go down, so they'll be happy to hold their heads high in the celebrations right after this.